I think I will just get started slowly so that we get into the main topic of this workshop. So the title is, as you can see here, "Human in the Loop" in the frame of the energy transition, and I will spend just a few minutes. Keep the door open; it's fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I will spend the first few minutes to explain the overall structure of this workshop. First, I would like to introduce myself and to introduce the speakers as well. So these are all the participants. So I'm Chiara Fogno, Head of Social Innovation and ICONS Innovation Strategies. And I have with me today, I think, a very good set of panelists. So we have Diego Arnone from Engineering SPA, Julia Blanche from the University of Cork. Then we have Christian Galletta from Federene and Elisaio Sarmas. Where are you? Oh, there. Sorry, you were closer than I expected. From EPU and TUA. So we have a very good set of panelists, and the organization of this workshop is as follows. So it's a workshop. So please get ready, because after the first round of presentation, we will have some questions for the speakers first, but then we will ask you some questions because we really want to hear from you as well. It's important for us to discuss on some key topics that we will touch upon during this workshop. So it's not just these are not just front presentations. So the introduction is done, and then I will touch upon very briefly in the next 5 minutes on the main topics and what we will focus on. So the key word here, as you have perhaps already understood, is really the human in the loop and how we integrate the human aspects in the energy transition. So you will hear first some lessons learned from four EU-funded projects which are currently ongoing. So it's Greek Valley, Daedalus, NRF, and Empower. And you will hear from the presenters what they have learned in the course of their projects. The first presentations that you will hear are more from a general point of view. Then we will have a round of questions more focused on the human aspects, and then 4 dimensions that we would like to touch upon with you. So we will ask you some questions because we really want to hear from you. These are the objectives, but I think it's already what I mentioned before. One thing that is very important for us, I mean, for this panel, is really focus on the key barriers and enablers, as you can read here, for scaling the human in the loop digitalizations. Because this word, human in the loop, digitalization, energy and energy renovation, are a bit of a buzzwords if they are not really implemented in the right way in the frame of the project. So in this workshop, we would like to go beyond the buzzwords, to be honest, and really understand what it means to implement a human in the loop approach, and also to develop high level and very technical solutions that can be of help in the energy transition. Something that I haven't said, but it's very important to emphasize, is that this workshop is organized in the frame of the Smart Energy Cluster. So this is a collaborative effort, quite a big one, because it includes more than 30 projects, which are focused on merging different energy services, as you can read here, and incorporating energy benefits. The energy cluster is managed by the Institute for European Energy and Climate Policy and by EPU and TUA, which is represented here by Elisaios. And it currently involves, as I said before, more than 30 European projects. So it's quite a big cluster, a big initiative, very important. And this workshop should be framed and understood in the context of the energy cluster. So without further ado, because I don't really want to steal time from the presenters, so I will give the presenters the floor. Unfortunately, the presentations will be only 8 minutes, but there will be time then to discuss with all panelists, both during the Q&A questions at the end of the round of presentations, and then also when we have the group discussions with the audience. So I will give the floor to Elisaios first, so that you can go through your presentation.
So 8 minutes, correct?
8 minutes. I will keep the time, so no worries. Oh, you have it there. Sure, super organized. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me also in the back. Thank you for participating in this panel. I want to go through our NRTF project. First of all, what is NRTF? The three letters at the end mean testing and experimentation facilities. It's a very new word. There were 4 big projects financed by Digital Europe in sectorial testing experimentation facilities for agri-food, health, smart cities, etc. But then there was another call for the energy sector. So there were 3 projects financed to set up testing and experimentation facilities for the energy sector alone. As you can see, the project started exactly a year ago, so we're in the 12th month right now, and it has a duration of 3 years. But what we aim to do here, what we saw as a big challenge was that many startups, many SMEs, and also groups of researchers were struggling to develop solutions for the energy sector, mainly because of lack of data, lack of access to infrastructure, lack of access to experimental facilities. And these ended up in having nice solutions in low TRL 3 or 4, which did not survive the so-called valley of death. So they could not then be connected with the end users. So if, for example, a big DSO wanted a nice solution for their grids, for their operations, it might be that the startup had this solution ready, but just in an experimental way, and having no access to this kind of infrastructure, could not validate it in higher TRL, so the solution ended up being deprecated at the end of the day. So what we aim to do is to provide 8 nodes in total. A node means a set of such facilities. It can be physical access to facilities, like, for example, access to a control room. It can be digital access, like access to digital twins, or even simple datasets, in order to provide and test AI services in a trustworthy way in real-world environments. So to go in a very big TRL. Here are the 8 facilities that we are struggling to set up across Europe. They have to do with the whole value chain in the energy sector. So as you can see, we have a node for renewables, which spans across Greece with hydropower, photovoltaics, wind turbines, and also Portugal. With the help of Inestec, we have access in ocean energy devices. Actually, in 2 weeks from now, we will be there in the ocean to officially set up this facility. Then there is a node for electric mobility in Luxembourg, where there is a big energy community with several DC and AC chargers, where startups, SMEs can get access to these facilities operationally. There is a district heating network facility with Veolia in Spain. There's one with hydrogen in France, industrial places in Greece, and also buildings, TSO and DSO facilities in Slovenia and in Germany accordingly. What we have managed to do, okay, the right part is very difficult to understand because there are many, icons, things like that, but the overall vision is that we want to set up a marketplace, a digital place where SMEs can navigate, they can find data sets, facilities that are close to the so-called MVP, minimum valuable product, that they aim to scale up, and they can get directly in contact with these big companies. So we have a segmentation between end users of the solutions, which are big companies, like, for example, PPC, like RTE, like Enel Grids, all these big companies. And on the other side, we have small SME startups that struggle to make their first steps, and it was very hard to get access to the other companies. But now it's going to be very, very easy. because with 5 steps, they will be able to see what their interests are, to sell their value proposition, what they can offer, and then they can have a direct chat with an LLM, tell them what exactly is there in terms of data and all these things, and they can even schedule a trip to go and meet the company themselves. So apart from this, which is the logical stuff, we have also the technical stuff. We are in contact with the AI factories. I don't know who of you are aware of these new AI factories that are set up in Europe, in 8 countries. These AI factories have some supercomputers, high performance computing facilities, and the idea is that the startups will get free access for a couple of months in these facilities in order to train big foundation models, big machine learning models, and algorithms that otherwise, if they didn't have access to these facilities, would be very, very hard to do. So here are some examples. You can see at the left the digital twins that they can get access to real-time data from the district heating in Spain. Also a data platform for having access to smart meters across the Athens municipality to see the municipal buildings consumption, to see the production of the rooftop photovoltaics that we have set up in Athens. And also a nice platform where you get access to real sensors from renewables. In this instance, I think that there is access to ocean devices like buoys that are in the middle of the ocean and that give the real curves of the waves so that they can develop models for predictive maintenance of the buoys, etc. But where is human in the loop in all these things? Human in the loop is like we take the people of the SMEs, of the startups, and people of the big companies. We put them in the same table. We do this co-creation activities together so that they can understand what the big companies need, and the big companies can understand what the SMEs can offer. So it's a twofold approach. We have made several workshops in each of the 8 nodes and satellites, that's how we call them. And the results from this have ended up making these services that the SMEs, the AI companies offer more human interpretable for the big companies. Because sometimes you go to a technical guy, you say, oh, I have this LLM, I have this AI model, and he doesn't understand a thing. So what we aim to do is to make it more accessible. Here is the catalog. You can go even in our website to see we have already set up 40 services spanned across the 5 nodes and the 3 satellites. Some of them are fault detection for transmission grids, power management for TSO and DSO coordination, how to coordinate flexibility between the medium and the high voltage, battery and e-mobility optimization for big complexes that can be self-autonomous, anomaly detection for preventive maintenance. This is for the offshore one, for the ocean one. Wind power forecasting. This is one of the straightforward ones, and even hydropower system optimization for managing the flow of the water. I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much. Give the floor now to Diego for the second one. I think it was 8 minutes and 10 seconds.
Perfect.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good. So this is a strong
Diego, you
competition
have to,
for
you have
me.
to live up
Oh my
to the
God, oh my
expectations.
God. Okay, good morning. My name is Diego Arnon. I come from engineering informatics. I'm senior researcher for this company, and here I'm representing the Daedalus project. I'm coordinator of. And this is the project identity card. So basically engineering is the coordinator, and I want to read the title because I think that from the title we can understand something about the project. Data-driven residential energy carrier agnostic demand response tools and multi-value service. What does it mean? Basically, we are talking about residential buildings. So we talk about people that live in residential buildings, and demand response is the keyword. Keyword means that basically we try to address issues related to the participation to demand response. That is one of the possible solutions to reducing footprint, carbon footprint, to enhance the flexibility, to reduce energy consumptions, to improve the energy efficiency. But it's something that relies on the behavior of the single user, the single consumer. So that's the reason why the human in the loop is a very key aspect of the project, because we talk to people and we try to convince them how demand response can help environment and also their life. 23 participants, 10 countries, and 7 millions of funding and 36 months. The project will end next year in April. These are the main objectives. So applying social science and humanities tools to the engagement of consumers in residential buildings. We also try to combine the results of previous research project concerning building level data-driven models, algorithms, and flexible assets. We try to be compliant with the concept of data space, because energy data space is an important reference at the European level, trying to share data in a secure way so that governance and sovereignty of data is assured, because data is the real value for models, for AI, and whatever. But most of the people, most of the companies that have data are not so confident to share data or to use data or to let that other people, other companies use data. So it's important to set up a framework that allow people to share data in a more confident way. And of course, an important technological outcomes objective of the project is to develop AI-based data-driven services that are able to provide important functionalities that are essential for the demand response, and also to feed in some way applications that support demand response. Of course, business models, you can read the business models among the objectives. It seems to be quite common, in all the projects you find exploitation, business models, dissemination, so on. So why it's so relevant to put this concept there? It's important because the business models in case of demand response is quite relevant, because which are the motivations that push people to participate to demand response? And this is a very open question, because in most of cases they say, okay, we can give incentives, but are incentives really enough? Remuneration is enough? Usually it is not, because the money that you can save or you can get by participating to demand response are usually not enough to change your behavior. So we must work on other motivations, we must work on other factors. And of course, an important aspect, and this is the reason why we are here, is the collaboration with other initiatives, with other projects, because the cluster, for instance, is an example of a joint initiative that allows us to exchange ideas and also to organize initiatives like this. Okay, 7 different pilots here are not classified on the basis of the 2 main groups, because 5 of them are classified as front runners, 2 of them are classified as multipliers or replicators. So basically, we try to experience how to replicate the results in the main pilots to other 2 pilots. So it's an internal experiment of replication. Are very different, but basically we are talking about residential buildings, in some cases elder people buildings, so residence for this kind of person. In other cases we talk about, let's say, a student campus into a university. So very different situations, but in each of them we try to identify the main stakeholders and to talk to them in order to extract their needs. So the main expected outcomes, of course, technology, because it's mainly an IT project. So technology enables to turn a smart energy appliance into demand response with flexible assets, and the tools are an important. It's not just a tool that we used in a project like many others. It's quite important because, as I said before, the involvement of people is quite relevant, because they are the main actors of the project results. If we don't involve users, basically you don't get any result. And the business layer, as I said before, is important just to understand which are the mechanisms that can promote the demand response. So the overall overarching project goal: deploy a social, technology, and business framework to design and demonstrate a social science and humanities driven, multi-value, multi-energy carrier agnostic. Energy carrier agnostic because we consider not only electricity, but also gas and heat, even because demand response can work also at the crossroad of different energy networks. And The focus is optimize and manage automated demand response in residential buildings, social arms structured through the social science framework, and behavioral change diaries, motivation and behavioral economics, foundational pillars, individual context, goal settings, and motivation. We will see in the next slide. These are the three main pillars of the Daedalus overarching project goal. So the individual context, you can see in the next one the blocks that explain better. So beliefs, values, and knowledge. What are the barriers and drivers related to residential DDR? We must try to understand which are the obstacles that do not allow people to take part of the response. I want my comfort. I don't want to change my behavior in terms of energy consumption and so on. Goal setting, so behavior and acceptance targets. Again, which are the incentives, monetary or non-monetary, that are most applicable to consumers? Because we know that basically if we pay people to change their behavior, usually they don't do anything. But if we give them other motivation, like being part of a community, gaming or gamification of this participation, or try to transfer them more awareness about the issue of environment, energy consumption. Only 1 minute, okay, good. So I lost it basically. Motivators, which nudging interventions, that means which kind of applications we can use to motivate people to change their behavior. And then, as a consequence, a change of behavior and participation to the art. This is the example of segmentation of our audience. We did questionnaires, and the basis of these questionnaires, we defined the typical profile of a user of a specific pilot. And this allowed us to understand better than their needs and how to move to push them toward demand response. How much?
7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Thank you, Diego.
I can do less, just 2 seconds. What did I win?
Okay.
I'll leave the floor to Christian.
Then it's me. I will speak from here. Yes. So my name is Christian Galletta, and I'm working at the Federation of Regional and Local Energy Agencies, alias FEDAREN, and I'm involved in the Creek Valley project, which I'm going to explain to you a bit. We can go to the first slide. Let's give you some impressions, some feels of the Creek Valley project in numbers. First of all, the idea is to develop a renewable energy valley in the island of Crete, contributing to the energy autonomy of the island. How many of you know what is a renewable energy valley, the concept? So the idea of a renewable energy valley is to have in the same project the production, the distribution and transmission, but also the consumption of the energy. In various vectors of energy as well. And in this specific project, not only we take into account the energy part, but we integrate it with digital and social innovations, keeping the human in the loop in this sense. It's a huge project, 25 million euros, 41 partners. Specifically, we are aiming at developing 4 community energy labs within the island of Crete, and 4 follower communities in Ireland, Italy, France, and Portugal. We are, as you can see, we are deploying different renewable energy sources from hydrogen, biomass, biogas, geothermal, solar, and wind. And overall, we are impacting more than 320 stakeholders, 175 of which are households, and then the rest are also local businesses. It's a project that will end in December 2028, and the idea is to produce a bit less than 23 gigawatt hour annually. And we can go to the next slide, because it's very important to visualize a bit what this means, like with a map, and seeing where these communities are based. And as you can see, so Greek colleagues here hold with me with the Greek pronunciation, but there are different communities here and different technologies deployed, also based on the needs, on the geographical, the weather, for instance, geographical constraints, the needs of the populations. So we have in the La City Plateau, for instance, the need for having a small traditional windmills, but at the same time also due to the agricultural activities, the production of biogas. In RV, due to the position, it's important to take into account heating and cooling, specifically cooling for 9 months. So indeed, we are using a geothermal plant for that, applied also and combined with the PV plant. We also have in the Aterino Laccos community, there is already an existing hydrogen project, and based on these needs, the idea of Grid Valley is to bid from that project, producing more incrementing the fuel cells for the buses, and also developing EV chargers as well. So incrementing the hydrogen production, but also the consumption through the buses. And the Arcalocori community, because of the olive trees production, biomass is strong there. We will use also wind and solar. This to give you the overview of these community energy labs, where they are based, but what really community energy labs are. We can go to the next slide to understand a bit the overarching infrastructure of the Renewable Energy Valley. As you can see, the Renewable Energy Valley is a regional laboratory. We use the Living Lab in innovation approach. Basically, we are not simply deploying solutions. We are deploying different innovative solutions, co-creating them, testing them, assessing them, and also changing while we go. So throughout the 5 years, it's not just something that it's a static, it's a dynamic project, multi-layers, because indeed below this overarching infrastructure regional, there are the 4 community energy labs. And throughout the project, we are using co-designing, co-creation, and co-production, which are not simply buzzwords indeed. We co-design the strategy with also local stakeholders involved in the project on how to involve the local stakeholders when we launched the Renewable Energy Valley. The co-creation part is what happened in loco. So imagine this happened in June, for instance. We had a 3 days event and we visited all the communities. And imagine yourself, you are part of your community. The project partners come there, they visit alongside you, your local mayor, your other stakeholders, you are part of a workshop, you are explained the project, you are asked what your needs are, so there is a needs assessment that was performed. You are asked also where the plant would be best located based on your needs. So all these things are taken into account in this co-creation project, a process where you also write down the vision and the roadmap of actions for the project. So it's really inclusive in this sense. And when it comes to co-production, it's about this interactive process that I mentioned. Throughout the 5 years, stakeholders are involved and are actively participating in the management of the project and also of the energy assets. Because when it comes to co-production, this happens also thanks to the digital innovations that are part of this project. The digital innovation, if you go to the next part, the main digital innovation that you can see is this system for a digital twin. Imagine the whole Renewable Energy Valley translated into a virtual platform where you can visualize the assets, where they are located, also how much they costed, how much they are producing, as well in terms of energy. At the same time, you can, so let's say, for instance, in the first slide, this explains the relationship within the different stakeholders involved in the digital platform. So there is based on if you are a cell manager, you can access specific information on the map location, but also load analytics, production analytics, the maintenance scheduling. So basically, you are visualizing the whole operations and maintenance of the energy assets throughout the project. This also involves the DSOs and TSOs, and all stakeholders are. It's not simply putting this information virtually. We are integrating different digital solutions altogether because, for instance, stakeholders can exchange data through a peer-to-peer blockchain platform. All this collected data is also analyzed through artificial intelligence and combined with the weather to make a forecast of production, for instance, or also of energy prices for the day ahead. So we are developing this day ahead scenario useful for also market operators, but for everyone. So indeed, overall, this social innovation and digital innovation combined together is really what makes Grid Valley keep humans in the loop. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, you're all great. Thank you for keeping the timing. Julia,
You can sit there if you.
Okay.
I just let you know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Julia Branke. I'm a behavioral psychologist. I'm here with my colleague Adam today, and I'm from the University College Cork. I'm presenting the NPower project. And the NPower project, you can go to the next slide. Oh no, it's not there anymore. Okay, it's about energy-activated citizens and data-driven energy-secure communities for a consumer-centric energy system. Because I'm a psychologist, I'm presenting it from a social perspective, and based on the continuous observation that there is a gap between tool development and social science. No, it's okay. Just very briefly who we are. Slide before. We are 28 partners in 13 countries. We started 2023 and we will end 2026. So, so NPower, the vision. We are trying to bridge the gap between social science and technology by developing innovative tools that not only support the growth of the energy community, but also empower individual members to actively participate in the energy transition. It's about creating solutions with the community and not for them. Next one. So the development of digital tools is central to the NPower project in order to support energy communities in managing their energy production, consumption and sharing. The technological side of tool development is often advanced and well-resourced from my experience. However, there remains a critical disconnect between the tool developers and the end users, making it difficult to keep the human in the loop. And very briefly, the NPower project has 6 pilot sites for frontrunners, Ireland, Austria, and Portugal and Greece, and 2 early adopters, Spain and Hungary. I will come back to that, but first, we have a brief look over the tools which are developed inside NPower. We have a lot of tools. I will name 2 tools with which we worked to propose a new methodology to keep the human in the loop. There's the Power Seller Nudging App developed for the Austrian pilot site, which provides personalized energy production advice and promotes a behavioral change through nudging. There are more tools, I won't go into them, or can you?
Yeah.
Sorry. Now we are going. There we are. So the presentations are uploaded, I think. So for the interested reader, please have a look what they are all about. The second tool I wanted to mention is the Energy Community Planning tool developed in Spain, which helps users assess the economic, environmental, and social benefits of becoming a prosumer or joining an energy community, allowing them to compare individual and collective energy actions. Yeah. Here are just more tools for the interested person. Again, but coming back to our pilot sites, we conducted deliberative. Oh, you have to.
No,
Oh,
this is the last one.
no, that can't be because I have more. Oh, that's bad because I have much more.
That's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's sad, but I had some nice pictures. Okay, coming back to our pilot sites. We conducted deliberative workshops in 3 pilot sites in Ireland, Austria, and Portugal. and these activities sparked a variety of insightful discussions. Financial drivers, technological aspects, educational, communication concerns, regulatory frameworks, and environmental impacts. So from my experience working with renewable energy communities across Europe since a few years now, I noticed an interesting pattern. Regardless of the specific topic introduced, the core themes of discussion tend to be remarkably consistent. While the level of engagement and emphasis may differ depending on the context, the conversations almost center around the same key issues, which I mentioned from financial, technical, educational aspects. Furthermore, two focus groups took place with prototype testers and non-testers of an engagement app. They were conducted in the Austrian pilot site. When we are looking at tool development, people tend to expect that the same ease of use, design, and functionality they are familiar with from the apps they use every day. And when energy tools don't align with these expectations, especially for individuals with limited digital or energy literacy, they can become difficult or even frustrating to use. And what seems intuitive to a developer may not be intuitive to the average user. When users struggle, they are unlikely to keep using the tool. That said, one of the recurring challenges we observe is that tools are often developed for communities rather than with them. And this leads to misaligned assumptions where the target group isn't properly engaged or consulted. Instead of directly assessing users' real needs and concerns, developers often rely on general assumptions about who the users are and what they might want. But the issue goes beyond just development. There's also a gap in how we integrate social approaches. Community insights gathered through valuable social research methods are rarely translated in actionable technical specifications, and this results in underutilized social insights. And this leads to a persisting disconnect between developers and end users caused by knowledge gaps and very different communication styles. And ultimately, we see limited adoption. Tools may be technically sophisticated, but fail to truly engage users. The consequences are poor user experience, reduced trust, and in some cases, complete abandonment of the platform. To overcome this, we need real collaboration. Effective co-design must involve closer continuous integration between technical teams and social researchers to bridge these gaps and create tools that truly work for the communities they aim to serve. And current tool development is primarily driven by technical demands of the energy assets, which is fine, but often ad hoc and lacking solid foundation in relation to psychological frameworks. And systematic integration of social and behavioral dimensions into tool design remains underexplored, mainly due to unactionable recommendations. So as a first step, our work proposes an attempt to systematically align digital tool developments with behavioral and social dimensions. And I leave you with a cliffhanger and invite you all to come to our paper presentation tomorrow morning, where you will find out what methodology we developed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia. I'm sorry for the slides were missing, but you conveyed the messages very well. So everything went well.
I can ensure that the graphics were very nice.
Maybe you can show them around later.
I had the privilege to see the screen.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for all these presentations. I think that you have now an idea of the core really dimension of this workshop. So there is indeed, even if we touched upon very different projects, but the red line is definitely there. It's really about the humans in the loop and how in all projects, co-creation, social innovation, and the engagement was implemented. So before opening up the discussion, because as I said before, this is a workshop, and we want to hear from your experiences in the projects that you are involved in. There are some post-it there, so we will ask you to write down the projects you are involved in and also to share your ideas with us. You will also have the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. So I will ask some questions first, but then I will ask you if there are anything that you would like to discuss with them. So we are here to, of course, to discuss whatever you would like to, you would find interesting. But I have some questions first that I would like to ask you. So first, to the first speaker, to you, Elisaios, you mentioned in your presentation that in your project you connect SMEs and different kind of stakeholders, and you mentioned also some workshops that you are doing in the project. But I would like to take a deep dive in this and to ask you, how do you really do that? So besides the workshops, or also the methodology that you use in the workshop, so what kind of methods and tools do you use to connect the different stakeholders?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I have to admit that I participate in all 4 projects, and ours is characterized as the easy one because it doesn't have to do with physical interventions in the place where people live.
Yeah.
Because in the other 3 projects, you have to go to the communities, to their site, and install a big device like a wind turbine or a photovoltaic, and this raises bigger challenges in terms of acceptance and in terms of social frameworks. In our project, you just have to convince people to work together and to have a common understanding about what the ones can offer and what the others require. So what we did was a simple approach. We contacted people, we made them note down their needs, and when possible, they sat on the same table. We
So
did.
sorry for interrupting. So different stakeholders sat around the same table to discuss about needs and requirements.
About needs and requirements. On the one hand, we had the SMEs startups that started defining what they have and what maturity level it is. But on the other hand, we had the end users, the future users of the applications that are to be developed. The problem that we saw is that these 2 groups did not speak the same language because startups, the SMEs, wanted to focus on the technical stuff while the others focused more on the impact. So what we tried to do is a pre-exercise before sitting on the same table to convince them to converge a little bit. So to the ones, we said them, okay, focus a little bit more on not only the technical part of your solutions, but how these solutions are going to help the other group of people. And on the end users, we told them, okay, it's good to propose what you really want, but you have to be more specific in the technical details, because it's okay to say that I want a forecasting model for the next hour, but you have a little bit to be more detailed on that. On the other hand, when it was not feasible to sit on the same table, what we did was a 2-fold approach. We started with some questions and answers so that startups understand the needs of the user groups. But then we followed an approach that had been very successful in other projects of the past, like in DigiBuild, in Daedalus, where we put them in a Teams link. We shared a Miro board with everyone. This is an interactive board where you can stick notes, answer questions. They can all be on the same, let's say, area. It's like having a table, but virtually. And they started discussing there and putting their notes, answering a note after one note, and then we convert all this information. We analyzed it, not only by human oversight, but we also gave the Miro board outcome itself to an LLM to throw us what it understood from this analysis. So we got the results, and thus we created the requirements and the use cases.
Great, thank you very much for your explanation. And it was a successful approach, as far as I can tell, right?
As far as we know from now, there are already 40 services there, and there are already a number around 20 SMEs that are interested outside the consortium to work with these services without even having nothing to win from that because they're not part of the project. So
it
this
was
means
successful.
it- it's a little bit successful. We want to scale up these numbers to have 1,000 SMEs, let's say. So it's not as successful as we want, but we're just in the first year, so we do baby steps for that.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I also would like to ask Diego something about the SSH approach and user engagement, because you mentioned many times during the presentation that Daedalus really tries to integrate the SSH approach through a proper user engagement. Can you please elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, basically, this is the focus of the topic of the workshop. I haven't explained in details during the presentation, but basically, the first step is the definition of the social framework that has been used in Daedalus. So the three pillars that I mentioned before. So the user context, so which are the needs, which are the barriers, which is the education on the ground, which is the level of awareness. The second point is setting the goals. So what we want to achieve by means of their involvement, and then how. The third pillar is how different challenging indicators, what kind of application or tools or approach can push them toward them response toward an aware participation. And after that, we define some questionnaires. Questionnaires are used to achieve a segmentation of the users. So we have different personas profiles that have been defined for each single pilot, just to know them, which is the starting point, what kind of audience we are addressing. And after that, we started with a co-creation, co-design workshops. So several events during which we met the stakeholders, basically people in residential buildings, managers of the residential buildings, and so on around the table. And we not only involved the people experts in this kind of interactions with them, but also technical partners that are not experts in this kind of interaction, but that can suggest or put on the table some new innovative services, data-driven, AI-based services that probably the user cannot imagine, cannot think about potential functionalities or potential benefit that they can get from them. So this fruitful collaboration of different profiles, technical profiles, the social experts, allowed us to extract a number of needs, a number of desiderata, a number of requirements, user requirements that have been translated in system requirements, software requirements, and allowed us to start the elicitation of technical requirements, the design of the services, the implementation of that. Then the technical workshop was the step forward. During the technical workshop, we explained how to use services and how to get benefit from them, how to make awareness about the kind of benefits that this type of service can bring in their life. And then the last step is the assessment, the acceptance, because once that you develop something with this approach, usually the level of acceptance is better because you cooperated in defining the services and defining functionalities, so you are always aware about what you expect instead of creating something from scratch and deploy the new service or asking people to adopt a specific tool or a specific application without knowing anything about the application. So this participatory approach allows people to understand what they are going to implement and so improve the social acceptance. That is one of the biggest and most significant barrier to the replication of the result, because once that you define something, you expect that you can replicate this somewhere else. And in order to help this process, the participatory approach is quite important. So this is basically a number of steps that we follow and we put in place in our project.
Thank you very much, Diego, for highlighting the what it means in practice, the SSH approach. There are many people in this room who are actually involved in research projects in which it is a requirement to have the SSH approach. And we discussed already in a workshop that we had before with Clementine over there, that is very difficult. I mean, this is a requirement from the European Commission, and already in the proposal phase, you have to understand how to integrate the SSH approach. But it's not, I mean, it's easier to write it down than to put it on the ground, to be honest. So it's good that we are here also for for sharing the way in which it has been translated into practice, and also what you said before, Diego, about the translation of human requirements into functional and system requirements. This is very difficult to do. So I'm glad to hear that we have, again, yet another successful example from this project.
If I can add, consortia that lack this role, that do not have an SSH expert in their synthesis, they have very big difficulties in understanding the needs. Because I've been in projects with an SSH expert and without an SSH expert, and it's day and night the difference. So the way that you can take the use case. Engineers have great difficulties to do this work without the support of an SSH expert.
Yes, if I may also expand on this, what Julia said before, though it's important. So it's the issue of language. Technical people speak one language, sociologists speak another, or psychologists, they speak another language. So what is also important to have in the project is a person that can, or more than one, that can actually translate from technical language to a less technical language so that it's really understood. Okay, Christian, now we travel to Crete. So you're lucky to be involved in a project which is set in Crete.
I haven't yet.
But Crete is very unique, I think, and Crete Valley, sorry, is very unique in terms of, the culture and local perspectives that you have to deal with. And I think that it makes it also unique in terms of social innovation and what you are doing there. So can you also expand a bit on that? Why Crete Valley is unique as far as social innovation is concerned?
Yes, so Crete Valley is, as you saw, tries to combine social innovation with digital innovation, with energy innovation in many different ways. It's a multi-layer project, very complex, that indeed, at the end of the story, aims at supporting the island of Crete with the energy autonomy. So it's an ecosystem living for itself. We also applied the SSH framework, of course, and at core of this, we explore the concepts of energy justice and energy democracy, and how. So we really focused on this because our key stakeholders is indeed engaging local businesses and also citizens. So how can we make sure that the project ensures like a energy democracy? So a wider audience is involved in the project. We are having the quadruplex stakeholders. All of them are involved, from academia, from businesses, governments, and civil society. All of them. How can we ensure that the processes are non-hierarchical, and also that a wider audience is actually involved in the decision making and not just engaged in the presentation? So in this sense, we reflected on this, and also when it comes to energy justice, who is benefiting from all these things? How are these benefits and also the burdens distributed? Those are questions that we asked ourselves. And to reply to these questions, what we are trying to do is also deploying tools that make these things practical. So we are developing a social innovation monitoring to make sure that specific indicators of social indicators are tracked. So what are the social indicators before the project started, and how are they changing based on the activities over time? How so the innovation of Crete Valley is benefiting positively the communities. So we're tracking this. And overall, also another framework that we're using is this social life cycle assessment. So we know the life cycle assessment, but there is another tool, is this social life cycle assessment framework. How after having monitored this, we are basically assessing these indicators and trying to understand, okay, so what are the positive outcomes of the projects? What are the parts of the projects that are actually hindering or burdening the populations? So also the adverse effects in this sense overall is a life cycle assessment, but for the social value. So in this sense, I think Crete Valley is quite unique and comprehensive as well.
Thank you, Christian. Looking forward to read the outcomes and the findings of this project. The last question before we open up the discussion and engage with you is for Julia. It's a big question though, because we really would like to hear from you about how we can bridge the gap between the technical developers and the humans and the social science. Is there a way to do that? What are the lessons that you have learned that you would like to share with us?
Well, it was already mentioned that the language, we have this huge language gap between the technical side and the social side. Two different planets, two different ways to express something. And Diego was showing a nice slide about beliefs and needs and attitudes, and then came goal setting and motivation. And when I look at something like that, I see behavioral theories. I see the theory of planned behavior. I see the action regulation theory. I'm doubting that a technical person is seeing the same thing, and I guess it goes the other way around as well. If they present their tools and their numbers and so on, I see just numbers. I don't see an algorithm or a back end or anything like that. So we need to understand what are the requirements from both side and to find a common ground. For example, if the technical side says, okay, look, we don't work with real data, which we can use for the demand response or so. We have to forecast it, and we have to use historical data or so. Then the social side needs to take this on board and go to the community and really say, okay, look, we have this kind of data, explain it to the community, let them know what does it mean, what are the benefits, what is the not so positive about it, and really build trust, build engagement, because often people have no knowledge or very little knowledge or some chaotic knowledge about such things. And it is very difficult for everyone, particularly for the technical side, to integrate this when it's not clear what is actually going on. And when, for example, with the forecast or so, I learned that real data is not always wanted. Some say, yes, I want real data, otherwise it doesn't make sense when I get a message from, for example, when I get a push notification saying, yeah, use energy now or energy at this time. And people say, yeah, real data is only what makes sense to me. But other people say, no, real data is dangerous. People know when I'm home and when I'm not home. So it is, and you need to know where the community is coming from and what they need and what is possible. So it is also very important for the social side to see, okay, the technical side is not able to provide real data at the moment because there are no smart meters or whatever constraints there are. And communicate this, and maybe bring someone from the technical side in the workshops and say, look, we have someone here, he can explain a little bit the background for those who might have a bigger understanding from the technical side, and build trust, put a face to the technical side, and really say, look, we are transparent, we are here for you, we are listening, we take you seriously, and really try to come together, all sides, technical, social, and the community itself, to make it work.
Thanks a lot. Okay, now our work is done. You really have to help us and to have a good discussion on that. So we now have a group discussion. Honestly, the idea that we had all together with the panelists was to focus on 4 main areas, but because we are not so many people and we have 30 minutes, I would suggest that, it's not mandatory for me to focus on the 4 main areas here. So let's see how it goes. And also let's see if there are some experiences based on the projects that you're involved in that you would like to share, regardless of the main areas that you can read here. In any case, the areas that we think would be interesting for you to maybe to share and to focus on are these 4. So how you understand the human in the loop. So what is your experience in the projects that you are involved in or that you have been involved in? The second is how you build trust and social acceptance and how you did it. Was it successful or not? Then connecting across the innovation ecosystem is what Elisaios was referring to before. So how you put different stakeholders around the table in a way that makes sense, in a way that the language is understandable for everyone. And also, this is very ambitious, how we would like to shape the future in terms of the human in the loop approach. But before going into the discussion, I will ask you to use your phone and do the Menti, because we would like to know who you are. We don't want to collect information just for the sake of it, but for two main reasons. First, if you can write down your name and your organization, and if you want, your email. If you put your email, it means that you are interested in receiving information from the projects on the one hand, but also maybe you are interested in receiving the key takeaways from this workshop. So the idea is that you will have something at the end of the day. So we will send you a one-pager, a two-pager with the key takeaways from the workshop. If you want to receive that, please include your email. We will not look at the results right now with all the names and the organizations. We will keep it for ourselves, but we will make sure to share the key takeaways in 1 week or two. Okay. Then, when you are done with it, I will ask you to use the pens and the Post-it, please, to write down the project or the projects that you are involved in. And then we will put the Post-it on the wall. So when you are done, please grab the Post-it that you see here and write down the project or the projects that you are involved in. If it's more than one, is okay, so that we have an idea of what you're working on. If you want, you can also write the main topics. Otherwise, the name of the project is enough. Great, and then we can put the Post-it here. Clementina, I'm stealing all the good ideas from the previous work.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really good.
You can put all the Post-it here on this wall. Okay. Yeah, you can put it there, so that you have a good, mapping of the project.
Thank you.
Only one this time.
No, because I condensed it.
Everything in Okay. It's better to write down projects which are running, but if you are involved or you were involved in a project which is done, it's not a big deal. Please write it down. Maybe you have more to share. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. There are still people writing, so I will wait a little bit. A few minutes and then we start discussing. Okay. We can start, I think, discussing together, or maybe still one. Yeah. Okay, we have 15, 20 minutes for discussion, so I would suggest that we don't necessarily focus on all the main areas that I said before. I see here a long list of projects, so it means that you do have experiences, lessons learned, or aspects, dimensions that you would like to discuss in the frame of the human in the loop topic or approach. So don't look at the screen. Feel free to share what you would like to share based on what you've heard this morning. So I think I will start from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Because you wrote a lot of projects here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Giulia del Certimac. I'm the head of funding and activation there in my organization. Well, our experience, I'm really excited of hearing and glad of hearing all the presentation today, and I found it really very interesting, especially for the lesson learned and sharing experience. Well, I have a couple of things that I want to share with you. First of all, we proved it very successful, the practice of interviews with stakeholders, with local stakeholders, to identify and map their needs, their challenges, because with the interview, one-to-one interviews, they feel more confident, more open to share concern, question, and so on. But what we found really interesting and successful is also the methodology based on involving groups, forming local advisory boards formed by stakeholders, so four of the demand side, supply side, financial side, and institutional side, and they work together in collaborative workshop in which they exchange need, expertise, and also exchange requirements and also solution available to match them. Right.
So local advisory board, you mean group of people, local people who were involved from the onset in the activities, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Already from the proposal development with letter of support, it is not paid people, of course. We cannot bore them with a lot of meetings and so on, but we meet on a 6-month basis then, for example, and but we also think it's important because today I heard a lot about involving citizens, vulnerable citizens, but we need to have, let's say, in my opinion, a step in between, let's say, so like translator of the people who speak their language. So we need also to train intermediate figures which belong to citizenship, but also which can turn our project activities into the solution for them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome
for sharing your experiences. Maybe I would like to integrate in the discussion a little bit region and drop, because we've discussed before, and I think that there are many dimensions already touched upon in another workshop that can be relevant also in this frame. So,
yeah, well, I'm going to ask a question to all of you, because this is something that I think is challenging for all of us, because most of our projects have co-creation. So I'm going to tell you what happened in Drop. We had co-creation, but we had a written proposal with some commitments with the European Commission. So one of them was a smart homes development, like install some gadgets, IoT, smart metering. So we went to co-creation, and citizens said that they didn't want smart homes.
They didn't?
No, they were not interested in smart homes. I don't want gadgets in my home. I mean, I want an elevator. And why are you telling me that I want to have something in my home like that is going to get information, data? I don't want that. Mm-hmm. So this is challenges because you have a commitment, you have said you are going to develop several things, but the citizens don't want that. So I see that there are a lot of co-creation sections in all our projects, but when you go to the people that even citizens or stakeholders, other stakeholders, you can find that what you are planning to do is not what they
Cannot be
want.
done. Yeah, it's not what they want. Yeah.
So we found that, well, in this case, our project officer understood perfectly that, we were not going to oblige people to put smart metering in their homes. So we were able to change. So I wanted to know if any of you has found the same situation, like that you are having like some ideas and then people says like, no, no way, I don't want this. I don't need this.
I can see people
Yeah.
nodding, so feel free to jump in and to share your
Maybe we could say a couple of words. So it happened to me in a project a few years ago that let's say the main objective was to create this kind of smart homes. So it was a tailored system for enabling people to control interfaces. But actually, the whole purpose was to create a common platform. So there has to be some IoT installed and data exchange. So the whole matter of privacy, data sharing, etc., was really challenging. I think that in that project, like in many others, actually there is a little bit of a gap because we still struggle to understand at a research level which are the real drivers for these people to be available to implement these technologies. I've heard in one of the presentations mentioning that remuneration is not enough. This is real. There are many studies demonstrating that remuneration is not enough. Also because luckily in Europe energy is costly, but let's say the portion of the people really struggling to pay the bills is not luckily so big. So probably it would be better to start from the people that really needs it. So the whole topic of energy poverty. So normally the early adopters of green solutions are the people, with money. But in this case, it could actually be the other, the reversed position. Also because I think that, or actually there are researchers demonstrating that one of the main drivers is actually related to how people feel in their home. So health-related issues and explanations about the thermal, hygrometric, and well-being related metrics can be affected by those interfaces, by HVAC system, but not only HVAC actually, all the interfaces of their home. So probably trying to engage them in the health domain or well-being domain could be actually be more effective. And we've seen it a little bit during COVID, where people started to open windows, and to believe that HVAC and other building interfaces can actually impact their health. So this could be, a new path to investigate.
Any other? Yeah.
You mentioned having problems to install a thing like that in the household. Imagine going to the most southern part of Crete and wanting to install a wind turbine that is as high as this building, with people 70 years old there that have the habit to see their bananas growing, their flowers, everything, and tell them, okay, in this place we will set up 3 wind turbines now. It's 100 times more difficult to get their acceptance. And we went there actually next week. A big mission will also go there in this place, and we'll try to convince these people to adopt a new system to heat and cool their households throughout the years via power coming from the sea. So a geo-exchange, geothermal loop that will give them free electricity, free heating for the whole year. But in exchange, we'll have to dig all the roads of the village in order to put the pipes that the water should come in. And they cannot even understand the benefits. They say, no, you're not gonna dig the roads of this village, this historical village. So imagine the difficulty that we have in going workers there, big machines to dig everything, to pass all these pipes. It's very, very difficult. And even when people are not of our, let's say, expertise to understand what it means, and even of our age, to be more modern people, more educated people that know how it works. These people know that just, okay, I will pay my bill from the provider. I don't know what is a community. I don't care what is a community. If I see a big bill, I will turn everything down, even if it's 45 degrees out there. I will burn the whole summer. I will live under the threshold of energy poverty, but I will not be able to understand how to overcome this barrier. So this is quite difficult, and this is where we have gotten very big support from the social experts who knew how to talk to these people. Especially, there was a company from Austria, ZSI, helping us with that. But the difficult thing is that people then don't even know English. So
that's also another,
they were telling to us what to tell them. We translated in Greek. We were translating back in English the concern of the people. So it's very, very difficult in this European ecosystem to overcome these barriers. That's our experience.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Another thing that actually we discussed again earlier in the workshop that I was involved in, which I think is very important to mention. Some of these issues, though, I think they can be tackled in the proposal phase already. I mean, I'm repeating this all the time, but it's very important. It's very important to collect already information about the stakeholders that will be impacted by a solution when you write the proposal. Because if you don't do that, then you have surprises, sometimes positive, but sometimes not. So you really need to collect. I mean, we are all involved in the R&I ecosystem, so we know how it works. In the proposal phase, if you don't collect through templates or whatever, detailed information, if you have the time, and we know that it's very difficult because sometimes you write in a rush, but you have to collect information during the proposal phase so that you can then tailor the engagement and the co-creation strategies. If you don't know anything and you keep it at a very general level, then it's almost impossible, as we know, to implement then the actual engagement. Please,
It didn't make sense because I have been thinking about this since, let's say, the last programs where co-creation is part of the proposal. You need to include co-creation. It wouldn't make sense to have like two stages. So you first co-create and you identify the needs of the communities. What are the needs? And then you make the technical proposal. Because sometimes you find like, I mean, I understand what he was saying because it is like more like, let's say it's probably an island that has very specific problems, like with the environment and so on. But we are talking about a neighborhood that has like quite a middle class people living there. So the quality of the housing is not very good, but they have other worries that is not energy efficiency or the decarbonization of the building stock. They are worried about the elevator they don't have. They are worried about, I don't know, maintenance of the streets. And we are pushing them to implement things that we have written in the proposal because the call of the European Commission was asking us to write that. So probably if you want me to do co-creation, then you should give me the option to identify which communities need this kind of solution so I can go then and offer the people the things they are asking for. Because if you want to include a specific community from the proposal side, I don't think that public administration will be open, you know how they are with expectations, so they are terrified. Think that even in the proposal, you start engaging people and asking people what they need, and then not even the proposal is funded. So I think it's very tricky really
It's really tricky, but I think we should find all together, I mean, all the researchers or the people working in the project, a way to really deal with this kind of challenges, because we now have a lot of lessons learned throughout the projects that we are involved in. So we are not starting from scratch. We now know what it means, especially for the people who have been working in the field for a long time. We know what the challenges are, so it would be very important to overcome them through mitigation strategies, which sometimes are in place and can be put in place. Other times are just a bit difficult to materialize. Clémentine?
Just to complete on that, indeed, the Commission is asking us to take into account social aspects and be adaptable and flexible. But on the other side, on the contractual standpoint, we have absolutely no margin of adjustment on the technical side of the proposal. So there should be some margin, and the Commission should think on a way to give us some flexibility to make sure that we implement solutions that are needed and correspond to the needs. Because they tell us, you need to check the needs. Okay, but what if we are not completely right at the beginning?
Yeah.
And we don't have this margin, otherwise it's amendments and so on. It's very complicated. So there is like a contradiction between the expectations of the court and the contractual instrument that we have to implement it. That's something we should get back to the Commission.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe if I may,
Yes, sure.
compliment, also on the basis of the workshop we had this morning, and I believe that the challenges are really amplified when it comes to neighborhood renovation or regeneration instead of building by building approach. So in this sense, we had also to rely on lessons learned, even for redefining the process with phases, sub-phases, because it's not, let's say, a building renovation. So you have the building manager or the building owner and the households or let's say people dwellings or people living in the dwellings, but you have neighborhoods. So different challenges, different stakeholders, and also the acceptance can be more challenging than an individual building. So
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, we are, I think we have 2 minutes left, so I will not, ask you more questions because lunch is there and we have been discussing for, since 9, so there are people here since 9, so I guess that I assume that you are a bit tired now. And I still have my 3rd workshop in the afternoon, so I also need some energy and some food before I can before I can go to the next meeting. So thank you very much for today. For those of you who left the email, you will get a 1-pager or 2-pager with key findings. Thank you. Thank you also to our panelists.